Lolita, light of my life, fire of my loins, my spin, my soul, Lolita.
Hello everyone, it is Skylar, and today I'm going to be talking about my opinions on Nymphet fashion, the Nymphet fashion community, or the Nymphet community, because this is something that I talk about a lot on my Instagram and my Tumblr and stuff, because I think I do a much better job putting down my opinions into text rather than speaking it, because I can take the time to sort of word things the way I want to word them, take the time to think more before I press send, but with speaking, you sort of speak and then it's already out there. There's no backspace when speaking. But I really wanted to make a separate individual video for these opinions of mine because I think it's important. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. First, probably one of the biggest things, I want to talk about the sexualization of Nymphet fashion or Lolita. Now, as you can guess, as someone who wears Nymphet fashion, it's not like I have any sort of issue with the fashion itself, but there are people in the community who do make the fashion really rocky. They make it very difficult to join in because they're adding this sexualized layer onto it, which I don't support. There are good people within the community and then there are bad people within the community, just like every other community. One of the common criticisms I get is that Nymphet fashion is wrong because Lolita is about a pedophile, which I'm not going to say that very short summary is wrong, but considering that Nabokov's Lolita is a piece of classical art, there are many layers when it comes to art. While the plot is probably one of the first things you're going to see when it comes to Lolita, we can't forget about the various things that also make up Lolita. So the other layers when it comes to the art of Lolita, considering that Lolita is art, not only is there the plot, but there's also the costume design, there's the music, there's the various locations, there's the time period of like 1940s, 1950s. All of these things, not the plot, is what makes up Nymphet fashion, if you want to do Nymphet fashion and not sexualize it. For me, these are the things that attract me to Nymphet fashion. I'm someone who really likes summer attire, which while you can wear Nymphet fashion in the winter and fall, of course, it's much more common to see people wearing warm weather clothing with the fashion, which as someone who hates winter and fall, I like that. I'm also someone who's really into vintage sort of fashion, so the 1940s and the 1950s is something that I'm really into. I think that the music in Lolita is really pretty. And then when it comes to the various locations, there are tons of different like outside locations that are really pretty to look at. There is some inside locations, and I think that we can all see that these other separate layers, not the plot, aren't really related to anything problematic. Like, it's not bad to like vintage clothing, it's not bad to like certain music, it's not bad to like various settings, whatever. I think that things only get bad when you start to connect Nymphet fashion to the plot of Lolita. That would be the relationship between Humbert and Lolita. I think that's where I take an issue with people in the Nymphet community. The people who fetishize Lolita are doing it because they see Humbert and Lolita's relationship as goals, or they're overly sympathizing, not overly, but they're sympathizing with Humbert. So the difference between people who sexualize Lolita and who don't sexualize Lolita within the Nymphet community is the fact that the people who are fetishizing Lolita, they're looking at Humbert and Lolita's abusive relationship. While on the other hand, there are still people in the community who simply like the other four things I talked about. So the costume designs, the music, the time periods, the locations. I think the sexualization of something only begins when you start to sexualize the thing. So it's not the costume designs that are sexual, it's not the music that's sexual, it's not the locations, time setting, that's not the thing that's sexual. What is sexual is when you want to bring a kink into it, because kinks are sexual, they're kinks. So something like DDLG being mixed with Lolita, that's when you sexualize it. And that's something that I don't support. I am constantly promoting against that. I'm sure you can see that if you look on my Instagram. I'm constantly being obnoxious there, because I think when you connect Nymphet fashion to DDLG, you're basically just saying that the relationship between Lolita and Humbert was something that was attractive. It was something that you look up to. That's when things get really fucking gross. And it's not like I have an issue with DDLG itself, because I mean, as long as everyone's a consensual adult, then I don't really give a fuck what you're doing. But in the case of Lolita and Humbert, we're talking about a 12-year-old and a 37-year-old here. We're talking about her kidnapping, her rape, and to connect that to DDLG or any sort of kink, I think that's wrong. That's where I'm gonna say stop that. I promise it's not hard to say that I like the costume designs within Lolita, but I don't want to connect that to something that's abusive. Because it's not like crop tops and high-waisted skirts are the issue. The issue is when you're promoting an abusive relationship. So moving on to a different subject, another criticism that I get is that I'm trying to attract men by looking young. Let me tell you, I have never once, never in the past, I'm never going to do it in the future, never now. When I put on clothes in the morning, I don't think, what's going to attract guys? What's going to get guys off to me? I wear clothes for myself. I wear clothes that make me happy. I wear clothes that make me confident. My goal within Nymphet fashion, and I'm going to say that this shouldn't be anyone else's goal either, isn't to attract guys. Don't try to wear clothes for anyone else but yourself. I think you're just going to end up hurting yourself in the end if you try to do that. Like, I'm 23 years old. I'm very okay with being 23 years old. It's whatever. I'm just a 23-year-old who likes cute things. That's literally it. Another important thing I want to bring up is to all of my younger audience, because I know that there are some younger people who watch me. Don't try to go after old guys. That's not what Nymphet fashion is. That's what the fetishizers do, which is something I don't support. It's extremely dangerous. I can guarantee you guys, if you read the book Lolita, aka the actual story of Lolita, not the movie adaptations that had to be censored in order to not be banned everywhere because it would be too controversial. If you would actually read the book and see all of this suffering that Lolita went through, how horrible and mean Humbert was, you're going to see that it was extremely hard to sympathize with Humbert in the book, and you're constantly feeling bad for Lolita, because what you guys are seeing in the 1997 movie was just a movie adaptation of Lolita. You're not getting the actual Lolita, because lots of things are different in the book. The idea of an old guy treating you like a princess or something, get that out of your head. Get that out of your head, because that's not what Humbert did. What Humbert did was groom her, and that's what these old predator guys would do to you. So don't contact them. If they come to you, block them. Don't interact with them. Moral of the story, stay away from old guys, because I promise you, it's not gonna be a romantic ending. So another thing that sort of comes up in the Nymphet community is saying Lolita fashion while you're talking about Nymphet fashion. Now, this is something that I don't do. I like to be able to differentiate between Lolita fashion and Nymphet fashion. So I'm always saying Nymphet fashion, so I would encourage everyone else to do that, because you have to understand that the Lolita fashion community isn't really gonna want to be intermingled with the Nymphet fashion community, so just call it Nymphet fashion. However, you will see some video titles of mine that says like how to wear American Lolita or something, and in those videos I'm translating Japanese magazines, and in these magazines what they're doing is promoting Nymphet fashion, but I have never once seen any of these magazines or any other sources from Japan use the word Nymphet to refer to the fashion. I just only see them say Lolita. So as someone who just wants to translate the text, I do end up saying Lolita in that case. So lastly, let me talk about at least one of my goals when it comes to making these Nymphet fashion videos. If you watched my style evolution video, you'll know a little bit more about me and know that I got into Nymphet fashion because of Larm. I'm not gonna get into that whole story. If you want to see the whole thing, you can watch that video. I got inspired by Larm because they were promoting Nymphet fashion in a non-problematic way. I decided that I wanted to do that same thing, but through social media. So one of my overall goals is to help desexualize the word Nymphet. I want to make it a word that strictly refers to fashion and aesthetic. Some people are going to be like, well, pedophilia is an aesthetic. I'm not saying that that's what Nymphet fashion is, because that's not it. Unless you're a fetishizer who does make it that, that's not something I support. I want to support Nymphet fashion in terms of making it a fashion that has sort of like a vintage feeling, it's sort of nostalgic feeling. It has this mixture of cute and mature, and that's what I want to promote Nymphet fashion as. And I want to convey that other people can do this too. You can promote Nymphet fashion in various ways. You don't have to be as loud and obnoxious as I am when it comes to promoting Nymphet fashion. It can be something as simple as wearing Nymphet fashion and then tagging your photos with Nymphet fashion and not including any sort of weird like daddy issues sort of tag or DDLG, any of that, but at the same time you can be like me and decide to be very vocal about it. And I like to be vocal about it in the way that I like to talk about the actual story of Lolita and show that this isn't something to sexualize, but I also like to show these different outfits that I put together of Nymphet fashion that shows that you can like Nymphet fashion while understanding that the plot of Lolita is about a pedophile and an abusive relationship, and you're not connecting those two things. So something as simple as that, showing that sort of presentation of Nymphet fashion, is really helpful, I think. Basically what you want to do is become a role model. Present Nymphet fashion in a way that's not gross. I also want to encourage various people to wear Nymphet fashion, because I think the community sort of has it in their head that you have to be a certain age to wear the fashion, you have to be like white or pale to wear the fashion, or have any sort of like physical characteristics. So if a variety of different kinds of people came together and started wearing Nymphet fashion, that would really help show everyone else, everyone from the outside who's sort of interested in Nymphet fashion but don't know if they can get into it, that they can do it. So yeah, in the end, just promote Nymphet fashion as fashion, because that's absolutely possible to do. As I explained before, liking clothes isn't the issue, it's when you connect it with an abusive relationship. So I think for now, that's all I'm going to say. I may make a part 2 to this someday. There's always something to say in regards to various criticisms when it comes to Nymphet fashion. Be sure to follow me on my Instagram and my Twitter and my Tumblr. I'm constantly talking about Nymphet fashion there and giving tips for Nymphet fashion. I even talk about the real story of Lolita. So that is about it. So if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!